didn't put that there. What I'm about to tell you, there's no way to explain it. It's the strangest thing that's ever happened to me, or to anyone I know for that matter. I work late hours at a dive bar about 30 minutes from my house. It's not really a choice. It's just how things go when you live out in the sticks. Jobs aren't exactly abundant, so you take whatever you can. The bar's not much, but it's steady work, and most nights, nothing to write home about. But that night was different. My shift ended like every other night. I closed up, locked the doors, and got into my car to head home. Most of the drive back is nothing but winding back roads. No traffic, no street lights, no cars. Just long, lonely stretches of road cutting through dark woods and open farmland. It's quiet. It's peaceful. Honestly, I've always liked it. It's like a built-in detox. Time to zone out, think about the weird characters I meet at the bar or the oddball conversations I've had. But tonight felt off. I remember thinking how thick the fog was. I've driven these roads more times than I can count, but that night, the fog was worse than I'd ever seen. The visibility was so bad I had to ease off the gas. I couldn't see more than a few car lengths ahead. Even when I flicked on my brights, it didn't help. All it did was make the fog glow back at me, like I was driving into a wall of white. It started to piss me off. I knew it was going to slow me down, and I was already exhausted. I was about halfway home when I noticed it. Through the fog, maybe a little off to the right side of the road, I saw this faint yellow blinking light. At first, I thought it was just a roadside reflector, but as I kept driving, it didn't move. It didn't get any closer or farther away. It just stayed there, blinking at a steady rhythm, like it was keeping pace with me, as if it was in the fog, following me. Something about it didn't sit right. I couldn't figure out how far away it actually was. It was like the fog was playing tricks on my eyes, messing with my perception. A minute later, the light was still there. I started to get this weird feeling in my gut. I can't even explain it. It was like a gut punch. Something about it just felt wrong. I eased up on the gas, thinking maybe if I slowed down, it would either pass me or disappear. I'd get a better sense of what it was, or maybe it would just vanish and I wouldn't have to deal with it anymore. But no, the light didn't change at all. It kept blinking at the same steady pace, staying at the same distance, like it was locked in place, matching my speed perfectly. That's when the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I came to a full stop, thinking maybe I could get a better look at it. And sure enough, the light stayed right there, blinking in the exact same spot with the same rhythm. I sat there for a second, staring at it, trying to figure out what the hell I was looking at. Should I turn around? Should I keep going? That's when the light changed. It didn't stop blinking, but it got brighter, way brighter, like a small flame catching a gust of wind. It wasn't flashing faster, no. It was burning stronger, pulsing with more intensity, like it had suddenly become more alive. And that's when I knew I wasn't sticking around to see what came next. I reached down to shift into reverse, ready to get out of there. But when I hit the ignition, nothing. Complete silence. I stared at the dashboard, confused. How was that possible? The engine wasn't running. The only way to turn it off would have been touching the key, but I know I never did that. Why would I? My hands started to shake, and that's when I knew something was wrong. My hands never shake. I've been working in this bar for years. My hands are steady. But not tonight. I tried starting the car again, but it wouldn't budge. The engine was completely dead. Meanwhile, that yellow light was still burning brighter, brighter than before,
almost like it was feeding off something. My pulse was racing. I had no clue what was going on, and there was no one around for miles. I reached for my phone, thinking maybe I could get a video or call for help, but when I tapped the screen, nothing. Completely black. My phone had died. I knew I had at least 20% left. I'd checked it before I left the bar. But now, it was as dead as the engine. Just when I thought it couldn't get worse, the light flared up, blindingly bright, like a star exploding in the middle of the road. I couldn't keep my eyes open. The brightness was unbearable. I threw my arms up in front of my face, eyes shut tight, counting to 10, feeling the heat from the light wash over me like it was some kind of massive light bulb. And then, just as quickly as it had appeared, it was gone. Just like that. Gone, as if it had never been there. The fog was still thick, but the light was gone. I don't know how long I sat there, but my heart was still pounding. Instinctively, I reached for the ignition. This time, it turned over like nothing had happened. Without wasting another second, I drove the rest of the way home, eyes glued to the road, terrified to look away, as if even a second of distraction would bring that awful light back. But nothing else happened. Nothing out of the ordinary. And you know what? I've told this story to everyone I know, family, friends, even a few regulars at the bar, and no one has an explanation that sits right with me. Trust me, I've heard every theory you can think of.
This happened a couple of years ago. I'm a long-haul truck driver. Been doing it for years, so I'm used to those long, lonely stretches of road. On this particular night, I was wrapping up my second-to-last delivery of a cross-state loop, just pushing through so I could get home. The route took me down one of those desert highways, barely any traffic at night. No towns for miles, no gas stations, not even any lights. Just a two-lane road cutting through wide-open desert under a sky packed with stars. The kind of drive that makes you feel like you're the last person on Earth. I was about an hour out from my next drop-off when I first noticed it. I glanced into one of my side mirrors, surprised to see a dark SUV back there, trailing me. It wasn't tailgating or anything aggressive. It was keeping a comfortable distance, but it was definitely following. No matter how fast or slow I went, it stayed in the same spot, matching my speed. For almost 40 miles, it stayed right there in my mirrors, always visible, always at that same strange gap. It never sped up, never tried to pass, just hovered back there, like it was waiting for something. At first, I thought maybe the driver was just hesitant to pass. Maybe they thought it was too dangerous. But after driving through several passing zones, I dismissed that idea. Sure, maybe they didn't understand what a passing zone was, but I figured that was a stretch. As much as I was dying to know what the hell was going on, I had a job to do. I couldn't afford to waste the whole night figuring out the mystery of the SUV. So I tried to ignore it. But no matter how hard I tried, I kept glancing at the rear view, getting more and more annoyed. It was messing with my head, which is something that rarely happens. Around 2 a.m., I decided to pull off at a small roadside rest area. It wasn't a full truck stop, just a dirt lot with a few faded parking spaces and a little shed with a couple of vending machines. There were no lights anywhere in the lot, except for one dim bulb flickering above the vending machines. I figured I'd stretch my legs, grab a soda, and, most importantly, let the SUV pass. But when I glanced back before shutting off the engine, I saw the SUV pull in too, parking way off in the far corner of the lot. That's when the irritation turned to pure rage. Whoever was driving that damn SUV was about to get an earful. I slammed the cab door and stomped over toward the car, not even bothering to hide my frustration. But as I was marching over, I noticed something strange.
Whoever was inside must have realized I was coming for them. Before I could even get close, the SUV's engine roared to life, and it peeled out of the spot like it was fleeing from the cops, kicking up a huge cloud of dust and gravel. As the car sped past, I tried to get a glimpse of the jackass behind the wheel, but the windows were tinted. I couldn't make out a thing. The SUV shot back onto the highway, tires screeching as it sped off into the night. Within seconds it was gone, just a fading glow of red taillights, vanishing into the darkness. Part of me felt relief. Finally, no more creepy follow-the-leader game. I could get back to my night in peace. But another part of me was unsettled. I had just confirmed what I'd been thinking. That SUV had been following me for some reason. And what's worse, they clearly didn't want me anywhere near their vehicle. They'd been actively avoiding me. As I walked back to the vending machines, coincidentally completely unstocked, so that was a waste of time, I realized just how drained the whole encounter had made me. I was exhausted, and the last thing I wanted was to get back on the road. I figured I'd earned a short break, just a quick nap, an hour or two to recharge before finishing the route in the morning. I did a quick walk around the rig, double-checked that the cargo doors were locked and everything was secured. Then I climbed back into the cab. I reclined the seat, cracked the window slightly to let some air in, and settled in for a bit of rest. By this point, the lot was dead quiet, and for the first time all night, I actually started to relax. I told myself that even if that SUV driver meant harm, there was no way they'd turn around and come back to mess with me again. And even if they did, finding the lot in this pitch-black desert would be nearly impossible. The combination of exhaustion and newfound comfort made it easy to drift off. If I had to guess, I was out in a matter of minutes. I should probably mention that I'm a light sleeper, really light. You kind of have to be when you're on the road as much as I am. Sleeping in sketchy places like this all the time sharpens your senses. If someone's messing with your rig, your whole livelihood could be at risk. Your life too. So yeah, the ability to wake up to the slightest sound could mean the difference between keeping your job and losing it, life or death. Maybe an hour after I fell asleep, I heard it. A faint crunching sound, footsteps in the loose gravel. Even though I was groggy, I kept quiet, listening hard. I cracked the corner of the window blind to peek outside, and sure enough, there were two figures near the rear wheels of my trailer. They were crouched down low, inspecting the latches like they were trying to figure out how to open them without making noise. One of them had a small flashlight, using it to signal back and forth to the other. I couldn't see their faces, but I knew exactly what they were up to. I wasn't armed, usually I'm not, but if it came down to it, I was ready to defend my rig and load. That's my livelihood. One of them reached into a bag and pulled out what looked like bolt cutters. That was it. Without thinking, I slammed my hand down on the horn, blasting the truck's air horn. The reaction was instant. Both men jumped like they'd been struck by lightning, scrambling back toward the brush at the side of the road. Within 10 seconds, headlights appeared out of nowhere. It was that same SUV from earlier, roaring back into view, lights off. It whipped around and disappeared into the night again, just like before. I didn't even have time to get out of the cab before it was over. Once things settled down, I called the cops. I mostly just wanted to report what happened, get it on record, but they insisted I stay put until a unit could check things out. It took a while, but eventually 2 officers showed up. They helped me inspect the truck. Sure enough, fresh pry marks were along the lower lock arms on the back of the trailer, right where the guys had been messing around. Luckily, they hadn't gotten the door open. The officers told me they'd seen this kind of thing before. Cargo thieves. Apparently, it's more common than people realize along that corridor. They figured the SUV had been following me for a while, waiting for the right moment to strike. This remains the most unsettling thing that's ever happened to me.
There's nothing better than a night drive, especially in the summer.
Picture this, the warm summer breeze blowing through the open windows of a speeding car, cutting through empty stretches of endless highway. Well, that's what it's like around here. Anyway, there aren't many cars out on the highway at night. No cops either. So I've got free rein to drive however I want. And trust me, I take full advantage of it. My dad's BMW M3 definitely helps with that too. Don't get me wrong, I'm not a reckless driver, and I don't push my car to criminal speeds. But every now and then, it's nice to feel the full power of German engineering. Tonight was one of those nights. I was joyriding, cruising along the highway with no particular destination in mind, just letting the road take me. The stereo was off, and the passenger seat was empty. My focus was on two things: the deep hum of the engine and the rush of the wind through my face. Driving like this is one of the only things that makes me feel truly free. Then, out of nowhere, I got this sudden urge to veer off the highway and hit some back roads. I don't know why, just a gut feeling, like something was calling me to do it, and if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. So, I did exactly that. I pulled off at the next exit and started weaving through the network of narrow back roads, not sure where I was headed. The roads were tight with sharp bends, just the kind of driving I had been craving. I opened up the car a little, taking each corner with just enough speed to feel the tires grip, then release. The streets were completely deserted. It was just me, the car, and the road. That is, until I saw a flicker of light up ahead and slammed on the brakes, barely stopping in time to avoid crashing into it. When I came to a halt, I finally got a clear look at what I had almost hit. It was a shopping cart, sitting right in the middle of the road, like someone had casually wheeled it out there and just left it. My headlights bounced off the middle bars, and that's when I realized what I had almost run into. My brain processed it, and for a second it seemed more dramatic than it really was, but still, it threw me off. It's not exactly normal to find a random shopping cart in the middle of the road at close to midnight. Against my better judgment, I threw the car in park, flicked on the hazards, and stepped out to take a closer look. I probably should have just driven away, but curiosity got the best of me. Everything about this felt random, out of place. I needed to understand it. The warm night air hit me as I stepped out. It was calm, but there were a few bugs in the air. The only sound was my engine cooling down, ticking like a classic BMW. I walked up to the cart, wondering if maybe there were groceries inside, but that seemed ridiculous. I scolded myself for even thinking such a dumb thought. I peered inside the cart. Empty. Just a regular metal shopping cart sitting in the middle of the road. I stood there for a moment, unsure of what to make of it. When I saw there was nothing odd about the cart itself, I started to turn back toward my car. That's when I saw them. Out of the corner of my eye, two dark figures burst from the farmland beside the road. They were running full speed, coming straight for me. It took a second for my brain to process what I was seeing, but in that instant, I knew it was life or death. I had two choices: act or die. I sprinted back to my car, practically jumping into the driver's seat. I punched the start button. The engine roared to life just as the figures reached my car. One of them stopped a few feet from the window, but the other one, he ran straight into the passenger side door, slamming into it with a deafening thump. He didn't even flinch. It was like my car was invisible.